Hello, hi, and welcome back to Bailey's Blueprint, the podcast that goes over various categories of creative writing and the specific parameters that place those pieces of creative writing in certain categories. With that said, let's get on with sketching out some writing blueprints. So, hi, once again, and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to college kid, creative writer, and formatting fanatic, Bailey. And today we're going to be talking about a somewhat niche type of writing, microfiction. I think microfiction is funny. So, microfiction is a subset of flash fiction, and both of those, microfiction and flash fiction, are both underneath the category of short story writing. So, yeah, usually a written work, usually if a written work is under either 1,500 words or just 1,000 words, then it's considered a flash fiction. If it's above that, then it's a short story. But I said 1,500 or 1,000 because different, it's just a little debated, as those are the two most listed top limits of flash fiction writing. So, anyways, microfiction, so it goes short story writing, and then within short story writing you have flash fiction writing, and then within flash fiction writing you have microfiction. And so microfiction is categorized as writing that is under 600 or 500 words. Once again, the two different numbers is because multiple people say two different things. So those are the two numbers that are most consistent for how many words you need to have to be considered microfiction. So, a disclaimer for this episode, because microfiction is somewhat of a niche topic, it is not well known outside of the writing community by a whole lot of people. So that means its definitions are held very loosely a little bit, and they tend to be defined differently depending on the submission parameters of different literary magazines or websites or anything like that. So the numbers that I'm giving you are based off of the research that I did, and what I picked up was most consistent across the board. So that's where I'm getting these numbers for microfiction, because not a lot of people have defined it, because not a lot of people are using it. Now, yes, it's growing, and a lot of people are growing towards it, so this is just a little like, hey, if you want to dip your toes in the water, here's some common, loosely used but common words in describing the word count parameters of different pieces of microfiction. Now, you could just I'll call it all microfiction and, call that a day and be fine and dandy and cool, be fine. But I just think it's fun to know, okay, hey, I wrote something that is this many words. That's considered this type of microfiction. That's just kind of fun to me, so that's why I'm talking about it. Anyways, the specific terms that are loosely used for categorizing different microfiction word counts is what we're about to talk about. The most common one you'll find is a drabble. It's just drabble. That's funny to me. But drabbles are considered to be works that are exactly 100 words. That was the most consistent parameter for what a drabble is. It's a piece of microfiction that is exactly 100 words. Some submission categories, like websites and literary magazines or whatever, will do like 101 word drabbles, or if it's 100 or less words, then it's considered a drabble. So just different things like that. It varies from website to website and place to place, but the most unanimous definition for a drabble that I found was 100 words exactly. So the next one, and I'm going down the list of so anyway, next one that I found was a dribble. So you have drabbles and dribbles, and anyways, so a dribble is one that is exactly 50 words. 50. Not 15, because 50, 15, 50. 50. So, dribbles are considered to be exactly 50 words. I had one source that said 55, but the more consistent answer for what a dribble was 50 words exactly. So, and again, I think it's really funny that they're dribble, like that's just fun to say. Like you wrote a drabble. That's just funny, okay? Not a lot of people are gonna know what you're talking about, but maybe if we all use the word, then people will know what we're talking about. So we can get it started, you know? So the next one, there's a few more other like niche terms that I found for describing different things of microfiction, and it's really just, hey, what's the word count of your microfiction? Here's a title for what the word count is. So drabbles being exactly 100 words, can you guess what a double drabble is? 200 words! And I just think it's a little silly because it doesn't have a fancy name. It's just you have drabble, which is 100 words, and then you have a double drabble, which is 200 words, and that's just a little silly. And then we have tabbles. Tabbles, I think is how it's said. Tabbles. Like, so you have dribble, drabble, tabbles. And tabbles are 300 words. They're not exact 300 words. They're just 300. If it's 300 words and under, then it can technically be considered a drabble, a tabble, because T for try for 3, because, yeah, cool. And then the next one that I found was a pentadrabble. A pentadrabble. These are a little silly, but I think they're fun, so that's why I'm telling you about them. But a pentadrabble is 500 words. So, yeah. But yeah, so I guess in order of the word count for microfiction in general, microfiction is usually anything underneath 600 and 500 words. And then the next one down would be a pentadrabble, which is 500 words. Then you would have a tabble, which is 300 words. You have double drabbles, which is 200 words. And then you have drabbles, which are 100 words exactly, and dribbles, which are 50 words exactly. So those are some of the titles and things that I found for microfiction. But yeah, moving on from those, there is another type of microfiction that I think is pretty cool. It's kind of fun and kind of comes around with culture. It's very connected to culture because it's called Twitter fiction. Yeah. So it's called Twitter fiction, and it's called Twitter fiction because people started writing it, or created it, wrote it, whatever, on Twitter, in the Twitter chat box, like in the post, like when you go to make a post on Twitter or whatever, you only have a certain number of characters, and that's kind of how Twitter fiction got started. Because people started writing poetry within the parameters of, hey, I want to post this on Twitter, and I only have, a text box that lets me type 140 characters. So, yeah. Now, I know that the word count, or what, the character count has gone up in those text boxes, so, like, the allowance for that is, I believe they went up to like 240 characters in the text box or something like that. But original Twitter fiction was only 140 characters. So, staying true to form, Twitter fiction is prose or poetry. Poetry, prose? Prose, poetry? Microfiction that is underneath 140 characters, and that includes all of your it's all of the characters that you use to write this out. So that includes like your spaces and your commas and your periods and like and the letters, the individual letters. So like any type of prose writing, I guess, counts words usually. But Twitter fiction goes by the amount of characters that you use, and exclamation points. If you're doing ... that's like the ellipses, 1, 2, 3. That's 3. That's 4. That's 4 characters right there. And so Twitter fiction is really cool because you get to like you have to make sure everything that you're using counts, and that's just the cool thing about prose writing. If you minimizing what you have to work with helps you figure out, hey, what do I really, really, truly need to get the story across, kind of thing. And that's why microfiction and flash fiction and short story writing is kind of invigorating a little bit. It's fun. It's a challenge, and because you can go on and on and on about a topic, like you can pick something and keep going and keep going. If you have time, then you can just think about it and you just keep describing it. But with specifically flash fiction and microfiction, you get to pick a topic and then you have to be really specific. You have to be really intentional about what you're writing, about what you're describing, about how you're describing it, what words you're using, and then for Twitter fiction, like what spaces you're using, what punctuation, different things like that. And so personally, I love microfiction. It's an easy, well, not necessarily an easy, I just described how intentional you have to be when you do it, but it's something that you can sit down and write. You don't have to think about it too hard. If you think about it too hard, then you miss the point, because microfiction can be so simple, and it can be freeing in a way, because you're just like, oh, I'm going to write about a tree. Less than 200 words about a tree, and maybe that's all you have the time for. You can write microfiction like on a break while you're in between doing different jobs or different things like that. And so microfiction can also be a warm-up. Usually people will go and do like a writing prompt, and they'll give themselves 10 minutes to write, stream of consciousness, whatever. And that type of writing, it usually falls under the category of flash fiction, nonfiction, short story writing, macrofiction even, and that's specifically with like prose writing, because I was thinking about it and I was like, poetry, prose poetry could be considered microfiction, but it's also called prose poetry. But prose in itself, like the writing that you do for short stories and novels, is the type of writing that you do for macrofiction. It's just really, really intentional. That's the basics of, like, it's just a little snippet of what I've got for microfiction today. So hopefully that was a, it was a very brief dive into microfiction, but I think that's okay, because those are some funny words. Good luck looking them up. I had to cross-reference a lot of things. But hey, maybe if we all start using them, they won't be so hard to look up next time. Anyways, anyway, thank you for tuning in and watching and following along. If you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment, and I will get to that when I get to that. But once again, thank you for listening into Bailey's Blueprints. I hope this episode was insightful in some way, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. So I wish you all the best in writing out your own drafts, maybe trying out some microfiction next time you go just down to write. Maybe it's just as a warm-up. But yeah, good luck writing your own things. Bye!